About 10,000 years ago, near what is now Lake Turkana in Kenya, a pregnant woman sat tied up while sharp arrows flew overhead. She and her unborn child were part of what may be the earliest known massacre in human history. Forget the movie scenes of ancient battles. This wasn't about warriors in armor charging with swords. What actually happened was colder, crueler, and very real. Were early humans peaceful wanderers, or did they organize and fight with deadly intent? That's what we're going to explore by looking at the hard evidence left behind. Our story doesn't begin with armies or metal weapons. It starts with wooden spears and stone tools that help decide which human group survived and which didn't. The first sign of human-on-human killing goes way back, 400,000 years ago in what's now Spain. In a cave called Cima de los Huesos, archaeologists found a skull with 2 serious head injuries. Experts believe the same weapon struck twice, likely in a direct attack. This appears to be the earliest evidence of someone deliberately killing another person. But one-on-one violence is one thing. When did people begin killing as organized groups? That answer came from a remote place in Kenya, and it changed how we think about our past. In 2012, scientists uncovered something chilling on the shores of an ancient lake. The remains of 27 people, violently killed around 10,000 years ago. This wasn't a burial site. It was more like a prehistoric crime scene. Dr. Marta Mirazon-Lar, leading the research from Cambridge University, described the site as direct proof that group conflict existed long before farming or permanent settlements. The victims were part of a small foraging community. No one buried them. They were left where they fell. What made the find even more disturbing was who the victims were. Women, children, and men. 8 women and 6 children, some under 6 years old, were among the dead. 10 of the bodies showed clear signs of violence. Skull fractures, broken bones, and wounds caused by arrows and stone tips. 2 men still had sharp projectile points embedded in their bones. For people, including a pregnant woman, appear to have been tied up when they were killed. Professor Robert Foley, also part of the research team, reflected on this dual nature of humanity. As he put it, "We are capable of deep kindness and also deadly aggression. Both are part of our evolutionary makeup." This site at Nataruk is the oldest known physical evidence of organized warfare between nomadic groups. Before this discovery, many believed warfare began only after people started farming and settling down. But the people of Nataruk lived by a lake full of resources, fish, animals, and edible plants. They weren't struggling to survive. Their killers came prepared with different types of clubs and sharp weapons made of obsidian, a material not local to the area, suggesting they came from elsewhere and planned the attack. Not everyone agrees on what happened at Nataruk. Some researchers, including anthropologist Christopher Stojanowski, argue that the injuries may have occurred after death, due to natural causes like shifting soil or pressure from above. They also point out that the bodies are fairly well preserved and positioned, which doesn't match typical massacre sites. This disagreement highlights a key challenge in archaeology, piecing together stories from bones that are thousands of years old. Sometimes, the line between violent conflict and natural disaster comes down to how small fractures are interpreted. But one fact is clear. These ancient humans had weapons and tactics that were surprisingly advanced. While Neanderthals mostly used heavy spears and had to get close to their targets, early modern humans created something that gave them a major edge: projectile weapons like bows and arrows. At a site in France, researchers found evidence of archery going back 54,000 years. Dr. Lourmetz and her team studied over 1,500 tiny stone points, identifying them as arrowheads. Their size and shape showed they weren't used with hand-thrown spears. They were clearly made for bows. Why does this matter? Because these long-distance weapons gave modern humans a serious advantage. According to recent studies, humans who moved into Europe with these tools had better survival rates. They could hunt more safely and fight more effectively than Neanderthals, who had to rely on close combat. While Neanderthals had to get up close to hunt, sometimes risking their lives to bring down a mammoth or fight off a rival, early modern humans didn't. They had weapons that allowed them to kill from a distance, quickly and precisely. Dr. Metz pointed out why bows and arrows were such a big deal. They were accurate, easy to carry, and didn't require brute strength. They weren't just tools for hunting. They were tools for survival. This edge in weaponry may help explain why modern humans outlasted Neanderthals. While Neanderthals kept using heavy spears for over 150,000 years, showing little change in their technology, modern humans kept pushing forward. They developed bows and arrows and also crafted adhesives using natural materials like ochre, plant sap, and beeswax to attach stone tips to shafts. In France, researchers found clear evidence of this shift in weapons. While Neanderthals stuck with hand-thrown spears, their human counterparts used lightweight projectiles that didn't require direct contact with prey or enemies. The fossil record adds more to the story. Neanderthal remains show injuries linked to close-range violence, broken skulls, defensive wounds on arms, and signs of direct clashes. In contrast, the remains of modern humans from the same period show fewer close-contact injuries, supporting the idea that they were attacking from a safe distance. Dr. Metz didn't sugarcoat it. Bows and arrows gave humans a real military advantage. You could kill from far away, with less risk of being hurt yourself. As humans moved into the Neolithic period, war didn't disappear. It became more organized and complex. One of the most revealing sites is the Talheim Death Pit in Germany, dating back to around 5,500 BCE. Inside, archaeologists found the remains of 34 people. A strange pattern emerged. None of the local women were among the dead, but outsider women were. Researchers now believe this may point to violence motivated by the capture of women, not just fights over land or food. This discovery adds an important layer to our understanding. Prehistoric violence wasn't always about survival. Sometimes it was driven by social dynamics, power, and control. At another site in Peru called Pacapampa, archaeologists found something different. The skeletons there had signs of healed injuries. These weren't victims of war. They may have taken part in ritualized violence, possibly part of ceremony. It's a reminder that not all violence was meant to kill, and not all conflict was about territory. The clearest signs of ancient fear show up in what people built. You might assume the oldest forts came from farming villages, but the earliest known defensive structure is in Siberia, built by hunter-gatherers about 8,000 years ago. Called Amufort, it featured pit houses, protective walls, and wooden barriers. This discovery overturned old ideas that only settled farming communities built defenses. Clearly, even mobile hunter-gatherers could organize and work together to protect themselves. In northern Poland, researchers recently identified 15 more fortified sites from the Neolithic and early Bronze Age. Some were massive, over 20 hectares, and had defenses similar to what you'd see in medieval towns. These structures show that prehistoric people didn't just fear attacks, they planned seriously for them. Forget movie-style showdowns. Real ancient battles were likely short, brutal, and messy. Everyone could be involved, men, women, and children. The weapons were advanced, and the motives varied: territory, power, survival, or status. The evidence shows that humans have long been capable of planned violence, but it also shows intelligent skill and cooperation. Making a bow, for example, required a good understanding of materials and how force works. This was not the work of unthinking brutes. All this tells us something important. Humans have always had the capacity for both violence and cooperation. Sites like Nataruk show just how far back these behaviors go. The same brains that built deadly weapons also created art, music, and communities. And in the long run, it wasn't just aggression that helped humans survive. It was adaptability and the ability to work together. The takeaway from all of this isn't that violence is inevitable. It's that we've always had a choice: to compete or to cooperate, to stagnate or to innovate. The prehistoric world wasn't just about survival. It was also about how people responded to threats and opportunities. And today, as we face modern challenges, those old stories still matter. They remind us that while we have the ability to destroy, we also have the power to build something better. The future, like the past, depends on the choices we make. What we've uncovered from bones, tools, and ancient sites paints a vivid picture of our past, one that's far more complex than the old image of primitive brutes swinging clubs. Our ancestors were smart, strategic, and deeply social. They built weapons with precision, organized defenses, and at times carried out calculated attacks. But they also gathered, created, cooperated, and built early societies that relied on trust and shared effort. Prehistoric violence wasn't constant, but it was real and often more organized than we've given it credit for. From the mass grave at Nataruk to the fort at Amnia, the evidence shows us that early humans were not just surviving day to day. They were thinking long term. They protected their own. They responded to threats. And when necessary, they fought. Yet, despite the bloodshed and conflict, it wasn't brute force that defined human success. It was adaptability. It was innovation. It was the ability to solve problems together, not just win fights. In the long run, the societies that thrived were those that found ways to cooperate, share knowledge, and build lasting structures, both physical and social. The history of early human violence isn't just a dark chapter. It's a mirror. It reflects the full spectrum of what we are capable of, good and bad, destructive and creative. And it reminds us that the tools we build, whether weapons or words, can shape the world for better or worse. Looking back tens of thousands of years, one thing becomes clear. We've always faced hard choices, and today is no different. The world we pass on isn't decided by fate or instinct. It's shaped by the same decisions our ancestors faced, whether to fight or unite, to take or to share, to live in fear or build with hope. The past doesn't trap us. It teaches us, and it tells us this. We've always had the power to build something better. That choice is still ours.